Hello and welcome to the Buckeyes Postgame Show. Your host, Kenny Roda, here with you on a Saturday night. We kick off the 2022 season with a slow, methodical, grinding, physical, come-from-behind second-half win for the Ohio State Buckeyes at home over Notre Dame. The final 21-10. The Buckeyes trailing in the first half, trailing at halftime, made some adjustments. The defense, who'd have thunk the defense would carry this team in the first game after talking all offseason long about how great the offense is with C.J. Stroud, a Heisman Trophy candidate, Jackson Smith-Njigba, a Heisman Trophy candidate, Treyvion Henderson, a Heisman Trophy candidate. And it really was the defense, in my opinion, that won this game for Ohio State. It wasn't pretty, but you know what? They showed some grit. They showed some determination. They faced adversity. And against a very good football team. Notre Dame ranked number 5 in the country coming in. Ohio State ranked number 2. And the Buckeyes at home, great crowd. So many stars in the building. We saw LeBron and his son Bronny and the crowd chanting, "We want Bronny." Well, forget about that. Yeah, I know the Cavs made a big trade and everything. You got Donovan Mitchell, but we're talking Buckeyes here tonight. But a great atmosphere at the Shoe. A lot of recruits were in town, so they got to see the atmosphere and the Buckeyes come from behind victory. And like I said, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't the way I think a lot of us thought it was going to go. I had it 41-24 Buckeyes. I had them. The spread I saw was 17.5. And if you listen to the Kenny and JT show on News Talk 1480 WHBC radio, right, 1480 AM, you would have made some money. We told you, take the 17 or 17.5 points. With Notre Dame, it's the first game of the season. You never know what can happen. And if you did that, if you listened to us, you made some money. If you were like me at halftime, Mr. Bill, we were a little bit worried at halftime, right? They missed the field goal right before the end of the first half. Jackson Smith-Njigba gets hurt in the first few series. It was one of those oh-no first halves. Mr. Bill was prominent in the first half, but Ryan Day, finally, it took him 2.5 quarters to realize, you know what? I've got 2 running backs back here behind an offensive line that we preached about how physical we needed them to be and how strong we wanted them to get in the offseason. Let's go run the ball. What do you know? Those 2 running backs, Mayan Williams, who had the touchdown run, Treyvion Henderson, why he didn't get the ball more, I have no idea. But those guys end up with almost 200 combined rushing yards. And in the second half, to me, that was the difference. The run set up the pass. And let's bring in our good buddy, Pookie. There he is. He's going to join us here for the first one of 2022. Josh Palloja joins us here on the Buckeyes postgame show, and congratulations to Pookie. He's got a new gig working for 11 Warriors as well as WFNY Cleveland. What's up, Pookie? How are you, man?
Oh, man. I figured the Pookie nickname would have retired after last year, but here we are.
No, here we are.
Season, the same old nickname.
Yeah, same old nickname. Different Buckeyes, though, Josh. Last year, the final 2 games, think about it, right? They gave up 42 to Michigan last year in the loss. They went to the Rose Bowl, gave up 45, won that game in a shootout, 48-45. And I give Ryan Day credit. He said, you know what? We got to do something with the defense. We suck, okay? Changes have to be made. He blew it up, brought in Jim Knowles. They're paying him over $1 million from Oklahoma State. And, Josh, they gave up 10 points tonight against the number 5 team in the country. Yeah, their quarterback was making his first ever start. I get that. But still, that's a pretty good football team, and you've got to give Jim Knowles credit for implementing his offense, having the players grasp it, and coming out, and with the exception of really 2 big plays, they were lights out tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Notre Dame was depleted. They were without their 3rd wide receiver and 3rd running back and one of their offensive linemen. I think he played because it was a game-time decision, but like you said, number 5 team in the country, 10 points. I will take a close, low-scoring game win over a blowout. I think you said that prior to the podcast when I had on here, because the biggest question, we knew the offense would be good. The biggest question we had going into this year was the defense, and they just, 2 big. I would love to see the stats. It's easy to say they look good outside of those 2 plays because you could say that about every game, but I'd love to see the stats besides those 2 plays, how well they played. it seemed like they were flying to the ball wherever, no matter where it was, they were flying to it.
Well, I'm looking at the stats right now. There were more than 2 big plays, and I didn't realize this. They had a 54-yard pass play, a 32-yard pass play, a 31-yard pass play, and a 22-yard pass play, but none of them went for touchdowns. So that, to me, was the key. They kept them from getting to the end zone, and it was kind of a bend but don't break defense. Held them to a field goal on the opening drive after the big play, right? As they came out all-out blitz on the first play from scrimmage and everything. So I liked what I saw. And Michael Hall Jr., number 51, dominated the line of scrimmage, man. I mean, he had a big sack late in the game. He was in the backfield. He was taking up blockers. He had an outstanding game. I thought Jack Sawyer flashed at times tonight. And I just was impressed with what I saw from the defense more so than what we saw from the offense.
Yeah, I mean, Mike Hall, they've been praising him all offseason, and he proved it tonight because he was probably if there was a defensive player of the game, I'd give it to Mike Hall. I mean, he defensive tackle. I know there's not much you can do besides like stuff the middle and just make things hectic. And just, I mean, imagine if he becomes a star and then you have JT and Jack Sawyer on the outside. What are you going to do about that defensive line? I loved what I saw from Mike Hall tonight, though. He was really, really, really impressive.
He was happy to see that, wanted to see who would emerge, right? And he was the guy for me that emerged defensively. Offensively, I thought the O-line did a better job run blocking than they did pass blocking, right? CJ Stroud, obviously, when Jackson Smith-Njigba, what I think was the second series, he twists his knee or his groin or something like that. He tried to come back, and then he couldn't do it. And so they were out. Fleming already. He goes out. So your top 2 receivers against the number 5 team in the country aren't going to play for basically the entire game. And so that meant young guys had to. Did you know that Xavier Johnson was even on the team, number 10? Because when he caught I'm like, who the hell is that? And then he comes down on the very next kickoff and makes the tackle after scoring the big touchdown.
I'll be honest. If I didn't work for 11 Warriors, I wouldn't have known that. Xavier Johnson, he was a walk-on. He came into Ohio State as a walk-on. I think he's a junior now. Okay. And he got offered a scholarship last year prior to the Rose Bowl, but no one really knew about it. And then he said something a couple of weeks ago about how they were talking about scholarship count or something. And he said, oh, actually, I got offered a scholarship. I wanted to keep it under wraps because it's not a big deal to me. But, yeah, I mean, Xavier Johnson – yeah, if you have all those 5 stars at wideout and then you have a former walk-on scoring the game-winning touchdown, I mean, Brian Hartline's a genius.
He is. He's the best wide receivers coach in the country, and Xavier Johnson catches a 24-yard touchdown pass with 17 seconds to go in the third quarter as he puts them up 14-10. That proved to be the game-winning touchdown, and then Mayan Williams with his own personal featured series there in the fourth quarter, 7 carries, 49 yards, and a touchdown. He caught 1 pass for 12 yards, and they win it 21-10. Jaden Ballard from Massillon High School, because of the injury to Jackson Smith-Njigba, gets in. He grabbed a couple of passes today. So some guys stepping up, that depth in that wide receiver room showing up tonight in a game. They needed that depth to show up because while Mbuka had, 9 catches, 90 yards, that was nice. You needed those other guys to come through, and they did.
Yeah, not only like Xavier Johnson, Jaden Ballard. I know I texted you when I saw Jaden Ballard in there because he's a Massillon Stark County kid. But, I mean, even Cade Stover, tight end, transferred over from linebacker. Ohio State's never really used the tight end. Well, I guess they sometimes do, but not as much as they could. He had, 3 receptions in the first half. I mean, at full strength, C.J. Stroud can literally throw it to, 10 different guys and be confident that they're going to score a touchdown. It's crazy.
The good thing here is the toughest game early on till Wisconsin now, right, is out of the way in Notre Dame. We don't know unless you've seen anywhere on Twitter or social media what the extent of Jackson Smith-Njigba's injury is. It gives him time to recuperate, right? They won't need him in the next couple of games. So you want to get him healthy for Big Ten play. That'll give time for C.J. Stroud to get maybe on a better page with some of the other guys now that will have to step in and play. But, I thought I wasn't happy with the way Ryan Day was calling the game. it seems like it takes too long for him to adjust his game plan if it's not going well, right? Or if injuries occur. And okay, maybe he's got that cool, calm, collected demeanor where he doesn't panic and he knows what he's doing out there. He's getting paid about $8 million a year, right? And he's lost one Big Ten game since he's been there in his fourth year now with the Buckeyes. But there are times where, if that's Alabama, I don't know if they win that game tonight. If that's Georgia, I don't know if they win that game tonight. But I'm hoping that he will react quicker in pressure situations or adverse situations in the future. Did I lose you, Pookie?
I might. No,
go
I'm
ahead.
still here. It's
go
hard
ahead.
to. Am I here? No, I'm here. Sorry, I'm driving home we had a big watch party. I'm with my cousin and her husband. And by the way, when you said that you questioned Ryan Day, my cousin's husband shook his head a lot, so he agrees with you. But
smart man.
I mean, it's it's hard to question Ryan Day. One, like you said, he wins 95% of his football games. But I get what you're saying. I don't know. They just beat the number 5 team in the country. So I came into tonight, if they won by 1, a win's a win. You just beat the number 5 team in the country. And the fact that the defense played as well as they did, CJ Stroud still looked decent. The young receivers stepped up. It's hard for me to complain unless I bet on the game, which I did not. But
smart man there too.
Besides that.
Yeah, well, here's what. You're used to them scoring 45 a game, right? 600 yards, 500 yards. And, the spread was 17.5 in the desert. And I look at it now. I do the numbers real quick. It looks like 394 total yards and only 21 points. So, but your point is well taken. It's the first game of the year. You played a top 5 team in the country, and you came away with the win minus your top 2 wide receivers. And maybe your quarterback didn't play his best game, but he was still 24 of 34 for 223, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, and they didn't turn it over offensively. That was the key. They could ill afford a turnover with the way they were struggling there on offense, but the defense picked them up and kept them in this game till they figured out what they needed to do to get into the end zone, get a lead, extend the lead, and then run the clock out, right?
Yeah, and I know I tweeted this out. That last touchdown drive, 14 plays, 95 yards, 7 minutes and 4 seconds. What a tremendous way to honor Jim Tressel 20 years after that national championship.
How about that? Right?
10,
they were all there.
10 of the 14 plays were running plays.
Yes.
I mean, that is a perfect way to honor Tressel ball. Perfect.
And how about earlier in the game, in honor of Jim Tressel, 2 punts downed inside the 10-yard line. What's the most important play in football, according to Jim Tressel? The punt. And his special teams, his kicking game were top-notch when he was with the Buckeyes for 10 years, 9-1 against that team up north, the 0-2 national championship, 2 other national championship game appearances. And it was great that they honored them before today's game. Here we are, 20th anniversary, still to this day, the single greatest sporting event I have ever been to or covered as a media member. The 0-2 national championship game. It was the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. It was on the campus of Arizona State University, outdoors, and I got to stand on the sidelines.
Kenny, just keep bragging about it, Kenny.
Oh, my God. It was a wonderful think about that. In that game, right, in the fourth quarter, I'm standing next to Kirk Herbstreit. I'm standing next to Keith Byers. I'm standing next to Eddie George watching that game unfold. They're throwing the flag for the pass interference, and Maurice Claret strips the football after. It was just the greatest game I've ever been to. So I was happy that they honored them to kick off this season, and hopefully this season will end like that season ended.
Yeah, before we go on, though, for that picture, I want people, your listeners, to play I Spy Kenny in that picture that you have. And I want to see if they can see you, because once you know where you are, it's easy to see that it's you, but it's hard to find you, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Who does not belong in this picture? It was me, but I was there, and I've got proof on film for it. So, good that they honored them. All right, Josh, so give me your takeaways from this game. As they win it 21-10, the numbers are on the bottom of the screen here on the Buckeyes postgame show. You can see the individual numbers, the final score. What do you take away from this game?
The fact that I have a lot more questions about the offense going forward than the defense is great news.
Okay.
CJ Stroud I mean, CJ Stroud. I'm really not worried about him. I'm not worried about Treyvion. When Jackson Smith and Jake is healthy, I'm not worried about him. Just the fact that the defense dominated and the young guys offensively took advantage of the increased role and the increased opportunity on primetime lights. I mean, I know it was 21-10 final, but I am very confident in this team. Like you said, I know we discussed this. I like that win a lot more than if it was 50-28. Because I was worried about the defense going forward. And I don't care how depleted Notre Dame was. 10 points, 30 rushing yards, I'll take that any day of the week.
Josh, they gave up a combined 45, 42, 87 points in their last 2 games last season, okay? So to only give up 10 in the first game with a new defensive coordinator and probably everybody still not on the same page and guys emerging in roles, right, for the team. Outstanding start by the defense. Noah Ruggles misses the field goal tonight. He's usually reliable, but that angle's always tough. I don't know why they don't try and get the ball to the middle of the field more for field goal kickers, especially in the college game. But the punt coverage was good. The kickoff coverage was good. The offense, it took a while to get going, some ups and downs, but they get the win, like we said, against a top-ranked team, number 5 in the country. Can you tell me who they play next, Josh Palloja? Do you know who's next on the Buckeyes schedule?
I do. It's the Fighting Butch Joneses. So shout out to the Johansson family, the Fighting Butch Joneses of Arkansas State, who had 2 wins last year. So even Ohio State could probably roll out their second string and still be favored by 17 points.
No, I think they could roll out their second string and be favored by 30 points. They're going to be 50-point favorites in this game. I don't know if the line's been out yet. They're going to be, even without, if Jackson Smith and Jigba doesn't play and Fleming doesn't play again, they're still going to be 50-point favorites. If they said we're only playing second and third teamers, it would be a 30-point spread. And that's the game you kind of want after a tough one like this against Notre Dame. Then they have Toledo, and they open up Big Ten play on the 24th of September against Wisconsin. And to be determined on the kickoff of that one, but it will be on ABC. So a good next game to play after a tough one against Notre Dame. The biggest thing I came away with in this, 2 things actually. The defense looks a hell of a lot better. I know it's a small sample size. It's only 1 game, but that's night and day difference from what we saw last year, the year before that, the year before that, right? So that's the biggest thing I took away. Offensively, they played a decent defense, a good defense if I'll put the moniker on them. And it took them a while to get going, and they were -2 of their top receivers. And when Ryan Day finally figured out, let's run the damn ball, maybe Kevin Stefanski will learn from this. Run the ball, Stefanski. That's Dick and Dayton, by the way, if you're wondering who calls him Kevin Stefanski. So let's hope that they run the ball more and set the pass up with the run, as they have Treyvion Henderson, who's a Heisman Trophy candidate according to Vegas, and the bowling ball, Mayan Williams. And that offensive line, I thought, did a great job run blocking, especially late in the game. The body blows, took their toll on Notre Dame late in the game, and the Buckeyes get the win. So it's a good Saturday night. Our weekend is not ruined, Josh Palloja.
Yeah, and we can say that this weekend. Maybe next weekend the Browns will ruin it on Sunday. But for now, we're good. We're good to go on this weekend.
Baker Mayfield and the Carolina Panthers hosting the 21-1 Cleveland Browns on opening day since 1999 on September 11th.
Penny, like I said, let's just enjoy this weekend while we don't have Browns football, right?
All right, fair enough.
No, but final few thoughts from me. Were you asking
Go ahead.
For my final thoughts?
Yeah.
Defense, loved it. I can't wait to see what they do the rest of the time, because I'm sure they're still installing a lot of the defense. Offense, I mean, when Xavier Johnson is probably like the 7th best receiver in the room, he could probably start at a lot of different colleges. And then Mayan Williams, you could probably start at like 95% of D1 schools, and he's your backup running back. Man, Ohio State's loaded. I know it's always important to compare them to Bama and stuff, but let's just enjoy the ride. Wait, what? Is that what Russell Wilson said? No, he said, let's ride. Let's ride,
yeah. Tom Brady, let's go. Russell Wilson, let's ride. Josh Palloja, let's enjoy the ride. How's that? There we go. The 3 greats. We combined all those 3.
I'm
three
just
amigos.
glad that you called me Josh Palloja. I'm really.
I started with the nickname. People have to tune in next week to find out what that nickname is for Josh Palloja. 11 Warriors and waiting for next year.
Yes, and also I guess Kirk Herbstreit on Untitled Chapter hinted that he was going to be calling the Ohio State game against Wisconsin,
Okay.
which basically means that it's to be a 3:30 game or a night game. So that might be another game under the lights in Columbus.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing these post-game shows, if not for all the games, at most of the games, right? Because I'm going to get down to a game. I'm not sure which one I'm going down to. I like to go to one every year. So we may not do it that night for the post-game show, and you may, have some things to do and whatnot, but we'll try and do post-game shows after as many games as possible, because I think, Josh, it's championship or bust, and I'm not talking Big Ten championship this year for the Buckeyes. All the hype surrounding them when everybody's healthy, and let's hope everybody gets back healthy, right? This team should be going into that last game of the regular season against Michigan, where both teams have 0 or 1 loss and are playing for the right to play for the Big Ten championship. And I expect the Buckeyes to be undefeated going into that game, beat Michigan, win the Big Ten championship, and get back to the college football playoff, which is at 4 teams this year. But in the not too distant future, we're expanding to 12 teams. Finally, they've come to their senses to do that. And that'll be good for college football, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you said. And by the way, I'm actually down in Columbus right now. We tailgated, but we did not go to the game because tickets were outrageous. But we tailgated. Campus was rocking.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how the stadium atmosphere was, especially with like 60 football recruits, 8 basketball recruits, and LeBron and Jason Tatum rocking an Ohio State jersey.
What was he doing there wearing that Ohio State jacket? What was all that about?
He was wearing a Ted Ginn signed autographed jersey. And then you had like Joe Burrow, who I know a lot of non-Ohio State fans say that Ohio State didn't help him whatsoever. Hey, he was back helping recruit at Ohio State, so that tells you a lot. But every key guy that you can think of that's affiliated with Ohio State was here this weekend, and it shows you how big of a weekend it was, not only for the game, but for recruiting-wise, and I hope they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, and how about this? Here's what Cleveland.com posted, all right? LeBron James in attendance, Jason Tatum, Joe Burrow, Sam Hubbard, Andre Iguodala. Nice. I wonder if LeBron blocked him there at the game. Evan Turner, Ezekiel Elliott was back, Rich Paul, who's dating Adele, Braxton Miller. See, I know some entertainment news. Braxton Miller, Cardell Jones, JT Barrett, Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaren, Chris Olave, Justin Fields, Jerome Bettis was there. The bus was rolling.
But no. But he was for I would say for Notre Dame now. So
that's all right. He went there. It's okay.
Who cares?
Yeah, that's all right. The bus
Marcus
was rolling.
And James Laurinaitis were there because they coached for Notre Dame.
Yeah, and
a lot of former Buckeyes.
How about a tip of the cap though to Marcus Freeman? The first half, they won the first half. They outplayed Ohio State for the first half. And I give him credit in his first regular season game. He coached the bowl game, but first regular season game coming to his alma mater, right? It had to be a tough situation for him. They were well prepared, and I'll be curious to see how they do the rest of the season because even though they lost this game, moral victories, I think they'll take a moral victory away from this one, playing the Buckeyes as well as they did, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with, I wouldn't say that they played well, but 21-10 as with the injuries and stuff. Marcus Freeman, I'm sure he's going to say, yeah, we're disappointed, but my team's played a great game, and just go forward from there.
All right, Josh, we'll talk to you next week, maybe after that tough Arkansas State game. All right, buddy?
Yeah, maybe we'll talk after it's like a 40-point difference. So we'll talk, if it's a noon game, we'll talk by like 1:15.
I was going to say, how about we do the post-game show at halftime maybe next week, all right? So we can get on with our Saturday afternoon, all right?
Deal. I'm down.
Safe travels, my friend. See you.
Thank you. Have a good rest of the night.
Josh Palloja, 11 Warriors, checking in with us here on the Buckeyes post-game show. And Ohio State a winner, 21-10 over Notre Dame. That's going to do it for week number 1. We hope this is going to be a long season, and that final game will be in the national championship game against Alabama or Georgia, who both won big today. And that's what we're all hoping for, a memorable season. They honored the 2002 national championship team, right? Won another one in 2014. Let's hope 2022 is as lucky as it was 20 years ago for the Buckeyes. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in with us tonight here on the Buckeyes post-game show. We'll talk to you next week. See you. Bye.